From marble halls gilded in gold, she ruled not just a kingdom, but an era. The world whispered tales of a seductress, a siren of the Nile, but they misunderstood. Cleopatra was no mere enchantress. She was a master strategist, a scholar, and the last true pharaoh of Egypt. Her mind was as sharp as the swords of her enemies, her ambition as vast as the desert sands. Every glance, every alliance, was a calculated move in a grand game for survival and supremacy. She wasn't just wearing a crown. She was wielding it as both a shield and a weapon. But beyond the horizon, a new power was stirring, an empire with an insatiable hunger. Rome, under the iron will of Octavian, had grown greedy. Its ambition cast a long, suffocating shadow across the shimmering waters of the Nile, threatening to swallow Egypt whole. The world held its breath as these two titans prepared for a collision. The decisive moment came at the Battle of Actium. The clash of bronze and the splintering of wood echoed across the Ionian Sea. For Cleopatra, the defeat was catastrophic. It cost her more than just ships and soldiers. It cost her the strategic edge, leaving her vulnerable and her kingdom teetering on the brink. With her back against the wall, she turned to the one man whose power and reputation rivaled Octavian's, the formidable Roman general, Mark Antony. Theirs was a partnership forged in the crucible of desperation. It was a union of legendary figures, a bond that was more than just a storied romance. It was a last, defiant stand against the encroaching tide of Roman conquest. On palace balconies overlooking Alexandria, they plotted to preserve a world that was slipping through their fingers, their clasped hands a symbol of a shared, powerless destiny. But in the treacherous world of power politics, betrayal rarely announces itself with the clash of swords. It slithers in the form of whispers, propaganda, and twisted truths. From Rome, Octavian launched a masterful campaign of character assassination. He painted Antony as a man bewitched, a Roman who had forsaken his duties for a foreign queen. He turned Antony's allies into enemies, and his countrymen against him. Rome, which had once celebrated Antony as a hero, now turned its back on him, aiming its collective blade not just at the general, but at the queen who stood beside him. Cleopatra found herself isolated, the halls of her palace echoing with the silence of abandonment. Cornered, surrounded, with the legions of Rome closing in, Cleopatra knew the game had changed. The time for armies and naval fleets was over. Her final move had to be something different, something that would transcend defeat and outlast empires. It was a gambit not for territory, but for legacy. In the hallowed silence of a temple, she laid her crown at the feet of the goddess Isis, a queen communing with her deity. With steady hands, she penned her final missives, sealing her own fate and shaping the narrative for all of history. Her final act would be her ultimate defiance. She would not be paraded through the streets of Rome in chains, a trophy for Octavian's triumph. She died, not as a defeated vassal, but as the last pharaoh of an independent Egypt, choosing the hour and manner of her own end before her enemies could write it for her. As Roman soldiers finally breached the walls of her mausoleum, they found not a captive, but a queen eternally at peace, forever beyond their grasp. Her death was not an end, it was a transformation. They took her empire, melted her golden statues, and tried to chisel her name from the stone monuments. But they failed. They could never erase her. The story of Cleopatra became more than history. It became a myth. Her love became a legend, her fall a tragedy, and her defiance a timeless symbol of courage. She remains the queen of hearts, of power, and of an unbreakable spirit. Her story was not forgotten. It was immortalized. Thanks for watching this chapter of history with us. If you're fascinated by the powerful true stories that shaped our world, make sure to like, share, and subscribe for more. We'll see you in the next one.